Cox can help make your home smarter and your life easier. Now you can use your Contour voice remote to connect to your home life cameras so you can view them right on your TV screen using simple voice commands. That makes it easy to keep tabs on what's happening around your home right from your couch. Need to keep an eye on the kids when they're playing outside? Just say, "Show me my backyard camera" into your Cox voice remote and watch them while you're in the house. And if you're waiting for a delivery and want to make sure it's there on time, no problem. Just say, "Show me driveway camera" to check on it with your Home Life HD cameras on the TV screen while you go about your day. When you live in a home powered by Cox Internet, you can stay connected to what matters and let Cox take care of the rest. To learn more about all the benefits of your connected home, visit cox.com/thisishome today.
Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up and going. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Thursday by my favorite person to get thirsty and talk pro wrestling punditry about with. It's Paul Pratt. Paul, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hey, it's Thursday, and we are here to do what we do every Thursday. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies. This is a pre-tape, everybody, though it is premiering in the normal Wrestling Inc. Daily time slot over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel right now. And, of course, if you're listening in audio form, came out the same time as normal anyway, just want to let you know. Today's show is not your normal show. We're not going to be talking the news of the day. That's unfortunately not going to be able to happen until Monday when I am available again to do so. No, today and tomorrow we're going to be doing SummerSlam preview and prediction shows. We're also going to have some interviews here. Today, Paul and I are going to look at the Raw side of SummerSlam, what that card looks like. And then later on in the show, after we do the preview, you're going to get to hear Andy Malnoski's interview with Tommy Dreamer. That's also premiering on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel today at 1 p.m. Eastern, just like normal. Everything's fine. Everything is normal, Paul. And then at the end of
everything is normal here. We went through it like a whole bunch of it's wrestling. We're used to it being pre-taped.
Yes, everything is normal. Everything is fine. Don't worry about it. We're all good here. Nothing makes people feel normal and fine more than like being told everything's normal and fine. At the end of the show, in the mailbag for everybody, we are going to look at what match at SummerSlam on the Raw side you're most excited about. We did put a poll up earlier this morning, and we'll see where it's at right now, what's got you guys going. But that's about it. We'll have more at the end of the show about what coverage we're doing this week for Wrestling Inc. and all of that. But, Paul, are you ready for this? You want to do some news you can use, news that'll leave a bruise, SummerSlam edition?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Now, unfortunately, the comment section isn't open right now. I would imagine it's lively right now, though. Thank you all very much for the wonderful comments, Samantha and Dave and whoever else. Devlin, yes, right. Praddick.
All of our usuals.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure you guys can still chat along. We'll still show them love later. But yeah, we're going to be looking at the Raw side of SummerSlam today. I went online. Not hard to find the card. We have it up over at Wrestling Inc. I did want to give a little background on each match. I found a wonderful preview over at cbssports.com.
Nice.
So we're going to be using their brief synopsises of the builds for these bouts as our preview. And then we're gonna give our predictions on what we think is going to happen. It's pretty straightforward, Paul.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right, let's start at the top. WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley, current WWE champion. He's going to be taking on Goldberg. So Lashley ran through Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank, reestablishing himself as a violent, dominant champion. True statement, right? I feel that's true.
Totally. Absolutely correct.
Totally true. So after beating Keith Lee the next night on Raw, Goldberg's music hit as he made his return to WWE before announcing to Lashley that "I'm next." It took a few weeks before Lashley would finally accept the match, but did so after Goldberg speared MVP on Raw. Goldberg, 54, is on his last legs as a performer, but still draws, this is CBS Sports, but still draws big reactions from the crowd. A win for Lashley would continue to build on the best period of his professional career. So that's the long and the short. Goldberg's kid is now involved, his 15-year-old son, who looks very different than he did a couple years ago. I'll kick it. I've done a lot of blubbering here, Paul. What do you think of this match? What's going down here?
Well, I'm conflicted because I've grown really tired of the trope of bringing these veteran stars back in. Goldberg, to my knowledge, hasn't had a single match on Raw since the last. He hasn't had a single match in WWE since the last time he walked in and got a title shot, which he lost. So to me, in terms of making sense or being a credible, viable contender, yes, of course, we know that the Goldberg has a tremendous legacy, but it just frustrates me that they bring him in this way without any kind of attention paid to what he's actually done for us lately.
Right.
With this title shot. Furthermore, Bobby Lashley is on an absolute tear, has done, as CBS said, the best work of his career during this WWE title run. It's the most credible he's ever looked. They have built him to a point where one could compare him to a Brock Lesnar. Like the way he's been treated would be comparable to a Brock Lesnar. And it feels, unfortunately, like because he's not a Brock Lesnar, he's not going to get that same kind of cachet treatment from WWE. My big concern is that somehow, some way, Goldberg goes over here, and I would be furious.
Dude, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It didn't dawn on me until I think it was yesterday, as I'm trying to put things in the correct timeline. I was talking to Brian about this. Like, Goldberg's whole thing now, in the past couple times, has been somebody gets hot, somebody's getting over, and then for whatever reason, they get fed to Goldberg, right? Like you have a directive right now, apparently, for no guys in their 30s or midgets, which is not the word I would think should be thrown around in a corporate, internal document at the moment. But then you're taking all your best talent, your top end talent, and as soon as they get hot and over and good, you feed them to Goldberg. Like that's really what this has become. I would be very upset, with the exception of Reigns, who Goldberg did do the honors for. I don't know, man. And this would be two big championship losses back to back with Goldberg. Where do you go from him with here if after losses like that, if you're going to keep him out of the title picture?
It's a situation, first of all, like it harkens me back to when The Fiend went over and took the title a few years back. And within a few months, it was, Goldberg and a defeat, right. And then, and The Fiend was undeniably the single hottest entity in WWE at the time. So with Bobby Lashley, my gut instinct, unfortunately, says that Lashley is not going to make it past Goldberg, because I think they've backed themselves into that exact corner. If Goldberg doesn't win to reestablish himself, then he has lost that credibility.
WWE, I've said this before, but I've only said it like once before, but WWE is singing two songs at the same time, right? Like Goldberg comes out and let's say he wins. The kids, the families are going to go nuts. And I feel like they're like a pane of glass. And on the other side of that glass is everyone else screaming, no, what are you doing, right? And you get both of these reactions simultaneously right now. AEW really doesn't have that issue. AEW fans act how I think AEW largely wants them to act. they're trying to play to two masters at the same time, and maybe that's why their product's getting watered down, because it's not focused right now,
Yeah, the other thing about this whole angle, and I tweeted this on Monday after watching Raw, is that I've always felt extremely uncomfortable watching somebody's high school age child become like a character in their story development or whatever. Oh. And the fact that Goldberg's out there, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't have the best high school experience, and Goldberg's kid already looks kind of douchey. And I'm like, now that he's on TV, he's even going to be more douchey. He's there in the front row with all his like high school douche friends, and they're all like,
let's not bully the child and draw.
I'm not bullying him. I'm just saying that, like, I think that, high school dynamics are high school dynamics, and putting the kid on TV to me doesn't do the greatest.
Okay, I get it. Books are like people. You just read him. I understand. You read this 15-year-old child.
The situation, I'll tell you that. Kids already coming from a little bit of privilege, so I would have to say that it's not. Goldberg's really nice, so maybe he keeps the kid in check.
It is pretty obvious that they're grooming this kid to continue on the Goldberg legacy, right?
Yes.
Yes, this kid, because we may not get Goldberg Riddle, and I mean maybe that's the non-title match or title match you do, to get 1 or 2 more fights off Goldberg's deal. But Riddle Goldberg Jr., maybe that's where we get the heat, get the fire. I don't know. So
Of course, Goldberg Jr. is out there. He's 14 years old. They've already got him in the main event of next year's WrestleMania.
15. He's 15. Okay.
Okay, whatever.
15 years old. But I think we could both, Paul. It seems like we both agree on the direction of this match long term to get where I would think we both want to be. I would see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Roman Reigns defeats John Cena. John Cena defeating Roman Reigns. The only reason I could think that they would do it is to put a thumb in the eye of Ric Flair and break his record because he's out there just right.
First thing I thought of as soon as Rick left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe for that reason. But ideally, I would think, Reigns beats Cena. Lashley beats Goldberg. Brock comes back to face Lashley, right? Because he sees how much of a dominant badass he is. That's the end of Lashley's dominant, better than we expected run. He loses the title to Lashley or to Lesnar, and we set up some kind of Lesnar-Reigns confrontation with the belts. Would be best case scenario for me. I don't know if you like that or not, but that's where the pieces fall for me in the long run.
Yeah, I don't dislike it for sure. It's certainly better than what we're left with right now. But
right.
One of the things that I also couldn't help but think when you were reading that overview of what's going on in the WWE title scene, CBS talks about how the night after retaining his title over Kofi Kingston, he faces a returning Keith Lee. So Keith Lee comes back, does so poorly. And I would have been much more interested in this match if a returning Keith Lee had been built up to be like this massive challenge, as we all would expect him to be for Bobby Lashley, and just leave Goldberg out of this entirely. I'm not that interested in the fact that we've got, Goldberg and Cena, both now Hall of Fame legacy type acts, being brought back in as the two biggest matches on this card.
Yeah. I hope they both get fed to Reigns and Lashley. I don't want to see either men's reign come to an end at either of these men's feet, but we'll see, Paul. Well, let's look at the women here. The Raw Women's Championship will be on the line. Nikki Ash, the current champion, is going to take on Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley. Here again from CBS Sports, their recap, their words, not mine. Ripley and Flair were the women with the issues when Nikki inserted herself at the end of an episode of Raw, cashing in the Money in the Bank contract to pin Flair and win the title. The following Monday, Flair demanded a match at SummerSlam, with Ripley doing the same. Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville announced that it would instead be a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. And in that time, both Charlotte and Rhea have gotten wins over Nikki. Now, Nikki, I believe, did pick up the win in the no DQ match she had with Charlotte, but Charlotte did pin her clean the week before. And Rhea, of course, beat her this past week on Raw. I've got thoughts, but I'll go to you first, Paul. What do you think of the build to this one and what we're going to get here at SummerSlam?
The only thing more disinteresting to me than Goldberg versus Lashley is this triple threat match.
God bless.
It's I was so happy on one level for Nikki ASH because she is a veteran wrestler. We've watched her in various forms or another, come up through the ranks. She's, really towed the party line for WWE, and this is her payoff, to be the Raw Women's Champion. It's a career highlight for any wrestler. And she has less than a 50-50 record as champion of wins and losses. If I'm not mistaken, she just, got defeated yet again in a tag team match, the Nia Jax Charlotte Flair match. She took the pinfall in that one.
That is correct. Yeah.
On Monday, like, what are they thinking here? What is the thought process here? Do they think this has elevated her? Because it does not feel like it's elevated her at all to me. She literally feels like the distraction in an already boring feud between Rhea and Charlotte.
I was not here for Nikki Ash's cash-in victory from the get, right? And I remember at the time everybody was saying, "Oh, she's earned it. This is her moment." Mick Foley's putting her over. Her husband's out there really trying to package this in a way where it's like, eat this. Eat this thing. I'm telling you it's great. And the whole time I'm like, this just doesn't taste right, right? It just doesn't taste right to me. I didn't like the way she won the Money in the Bank, just kind of crawling over people, looked like kind of a fluke. That didn't look dominant. A baby face cashing in on a heel after another heel-ish had beat them up on a fluke, also didn't seem dominant. So now she's lucked her way into the championship. Charlotte Flair rightfully comes out and is like, we used to be a bunch of athletic women that were not jokes, that were putting on great matches, and now you're Vince's little action figure stooge of the month, and cut a pretty stiff promo on her, right? They beat the crap out of her, right? Cleanly. Took the air out of the room, right? Nikki looked better in the no DQ thing, but then the Rhea stuff and the tag pinfall, and the fact that she's having to use weapons to level the score. I mean, the story here, I would think, if I had to get in Vince's head, based off of like Kurt Angle's recent comments about Taz, where it was like Vince saw Taz as this guy who could lose a lot and always come back and be dominant. Is this Nikki getting pounded down by her opponents? And at the last second, at the end of the day, she finds her superhero strength. Maybe we see some kind of dramatic, glowing graphic come out of her body, and she's able to beat Charlotte and Rhea. Maybe it works for the kids, Paul, but it does nothing for me. It does nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it does very little, I think, for a lot of viewers. I think that people are holding on to the fact that she is well liked, and we do appreciate her work, and we do. I think many people do want to see her succeed. I'm certainly one of those people. I just don't think this best serves her. I felt like,
no,
though, that even the series of matches heading into the Money in the Bank match itself, where all she had to do to win was last 2 minutes without getting destroyed or beaten. Come on, 2 minutes? Like, that's pathetic in its own right. Like, back in the day, at least you had to last like 10 minutes without.
I actually think this story could have worked if she'd have come out the night after and said, I'm going to cash this in at SummerSlam on you, Charlotte Flair, and I'm going to prove to everybody that I'm not just some fluke. And then she can lose on the road to SummerSlam to Charlotte. She can lose to Rhea Ripley on the road to SummerSlam. But when she gets to SummerSlam, that's when it clicks, and the crowd would be there. They cut her legs out from under her, putting this title on her first and trying to run the same play backwards. It's cattywampus. I don't understand it, Paul. I don't get it.
I mean, like I said, I already was not overly invested in the Charlotte Rhea series. Oops, sorry about that, bumping it. But the reason for that is because none of the characters were defined there either. And now Nikki is obviously the baby face, and Rhea is a little more baby face because she's been siding with Rhea, I guess. But I'm sorry, Nikki is the baby face. Rhea is more baby face by siding with Nikki. But still, there's the characters other than Charlotte are pretty poorly defined, and I don't know how long I can listen to Nikki talk about like my indomitable spirit. Give me something a little more.
Makes me roll my eyes, Paul. Makes me roll my eyes.
Yep.
Well, the United States Championship will be on the line. Sheamus defending against Damian Priest. Again, here the preview from CBS Sports. Priest has taken issue with Sheamus's underhanded tactics against men like Humberto Carrillo and Ricochet, going so far as to call Sheamus a bully. After weeks of teasing the match, Priest finally made the challenge on Raw, with Sheamus promising to put the challenger in his place. Pretty simple build. I actually think this is probably going to be a sleeper. I think this will over-deliver and be one of the better matches of the card, if I had to guess.
This is one of the matches that I am more intrigued by. I'll say that. And it's not even because of necessarily the build that they've given, but it's because of the fact that Sheamus always delivers in that hard-hitting physical matchup, and the fact that this has been a build for a newer talent on the roster, Damian Priest, who has felt rather stuck in this, post-zombie world of dealing with Miz and Morrison. his post-apocalyptic world could be coming to an end with the U.S. Championship victory over Sheamus. Sheamus is somebody that I've actually, I don't know, I found him unusually amusing on Monday because they've allowed him or encouraged him, it seems like, to go even farther into this Irish brogue to the point where, you know, I can scarcely understand half the things he's saying. Yeah. And at one point, Corey Graves, he went on, you know, Sheamus went on this long tirade saying all these very obvious sort of like Irish metaphors and, you know, like kind of saying colloquial sayings. And at one point, Corey Graves was like, you know, I was going to say exactly that same thing when it was obvious that nobody knew what he was talking about. It was just very entertaining.
Yeah, Sheamus is great, and he doesn't need this title, and they're building Priest, and I really do hope Priest takes this title. I wonder if it's by the end of SummerSlam or Raw the next night that they flash on the screen, Bad Bunny's congratulations tweet to Damian Priest. I don't know that they'll be able to contain themselves. I think it'll be up by the end of SummerSlam.
Yeah, probably before the end of the show.
Yeah, okay. Drew McIntyre is going to take on Jinder Mahal. Again from CBS Sports. Mahal and McIntyre are old friends, but Mahal and goons Veer and Shanky began interfering in McIntyre's business, culminating at Money in the Bank when the trio cost McIntyre a shot at the win before dragging him out of the match. McIntyre defeated Veer and Shanky in a handicap match on Raw with the stipulation that a McIntyre win meant the pair would be banned from ringside at SummerSlam. This seems like old school, easy heel babyface booking. I hope that they see it through and Drew gets this win and rolls on to the next thing. How about you, Paul? Do you feel differently?
First of all, we've seen that match between Veer and Shanky taking on Drew in this, you know, we've seen it before. They've repeated this already just within this short window of time.
Yeah.
I am very glad, honestly, that Jinder Mahal is in the, you know, has been utilized in this feud. I think that it does well for him. It gave Drew something to do to take him out of the title picture for a while.
Correct.
And also, we've established that I am the like anomaly on this show in terms of who I like and who I don't like in terms of characters. The modern day Maharaja to me was a very good WWE champion. I liked the build that they gave him. I bought into it. I think it could have been, I think when he went into that win, I think they could have given him a longer build as opposed to like dropping him in. But once they dropped him into that spot, they built him very strong. He pulled off that role. He had a great look. I liked that character. So to have him fast forward to now and actually be getting to revisit that character. Remember, for a hot second, they wanted him to be that like inspirational Indian Dalai Lama or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. But what the modern day Maharaja works for me, and I would like to see more of him. I would personally love it if he went over on Drew, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, I think that Drew should simply be disqualified for carrying a deadly weapon around.
I mean, call a spade, my friend. You are right. That is a weapon, and it should not be in a wrestling ring. 100%. I agree with you, actually. I liked the Jinder Mahal run. I thought that he was a great champion. I thought that, you know, especially as hard as they were trying to break into India at that time, really, there was a lot behind him. He made a trip to India with the title. There was like these incredible photos that came out of it, right? You know, had he not gone down with injury, I think like twice, like back to back, we could be having a very different conversation with Jinder Mahal right now. My gut says this was a holding pattern for Drew to get to the next.
Of course it is.
Right. Keep him hot so that, you know, he could be ready for Goldberg, right? Or whoever is next. But I'm not against a Mahal like surprise victory here either. He needs to win more than Drew in this situation by far, 100%.
Yeah, I think it would be great if they, you know, if they were going to, because we don't know how long they need Drew to be out of the title picture. So, you know, if they were to go back and forth with, you know, picking up a couple wins over maybe the next couple of shows, who knows? I don't think it's going to do any harm whatsoever to Drew. And I think that as long as they don't keep repeating this same, you know, weekly thing that we've seen thus far, which is bring him out, attack, poor Veer and Shanky, huge guys, and they like the two of them can barely get any offense on Drew, and it's so weird. And I'm going to tell you, like, we've already established that we both are like kind of dumbfounded by the guy literally running around with a sword.
Yes.
Which, by the way, viewers or listeners, that's an actual weapon. And when people are like, at one point, actually multiple points, Drew's been like, "You're cowards, just running out of here." Well, look, we came to a fist fight and you came to a sword fight. We're not playing. It doesn't make me a coward to this guy's a nut job with a giant sword. I'm getting out of here.
I'm so scared that the sword's gonna bounce off the ring, or they were doing a chair sword fight. I was like, my fingers. What if I? Anyway, that's maybe just me.
I jokingly said, at some point, I hope that Shanky lives up to his name. I hope that Shanky is sharpening the ends of toothbrushes right at this very moment inside a Punjabi prison. Just take him out, Shanky.
Well, that'll bring us to the Raw Tag Team Championship match. AJ Styles and Omos, the current champions, going to take on RK Bro, Orton, and Riddle. So Orton was off TV since late June, but WWE seemed fully committed to the chemistry he and Riddle had developed. Styles and Omos are becoming an interesting act that needs interesting challengers, and RK Bro fit that bill once Orton returned and made things good with Riddle after Riddle saved him from an attack from the tag team champs. Of course, Orton laid him out, but then this past week, I guess, earned his respect by helping him out, and they're back together. This got a way bigger reaction than I expected. I mean, maybe the biggest reaction of all of Monday Night Raw, I think, that this moment got.
And not to foreshadow the outcome of the mailbag, but I saw a lot of tweets about that. So
yeah,
I think that I'm surprised, honestly, by how popular RK Bro appears to be. It's huge. I do not particularly love the convoluted path that they've taken us to get there, but to some degree, I think it makes sense because, Randy Orton has been reluctant to participate in this, these shenanigans. He doesn't do well working with, he doesn't play well with others, to quote Charlotte Flair from Monday. But now here we are. We're getting this ultimate match between the tag team champions as well as RK Bro, and I think people are really into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean RK Bro on this one for the victory.
Oh yeah.
I was at Raw 2 weeks ago, and man, Paul, the amount of RK Bro shirts. I mean, more than any other shirt I feel like I saw at that show. That little snake on the scooter thing, parents, kids, they have done a really good job of making Riddle like this adult child that is can go in the ring and appeals to older brother, but also is goofy and appeals to younger brother. I can't think of another talent that's come through NXT in recent years that has been able to transition like Riddle has. And, maybe something to study there about what works in the WWE universe best right now, because he's walked a line. It's really resonating. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that I don't credit his incredible level of talent for that. I think that he plays specifically to the market that the main roster wants to appeal to.
Yeah,
which is exactly what you just described. That little kids will be like, "Oh, he's funny," whatever, and adults will be like, "Well, at least he can wrestle." To me, it's at least he can wrestle, because every single thing else about him is an absolute irritant.
And all the marijuana innuendos, right? Oh yeah, little brother likes him, but they don't get that he's always high. So, I put it on them. I think they'll have a run. If for no other reason, I'm sure Randy Orton is looking at the merchandise check right now, being like, "Yeah, we could do RK Bro for another 3 months. That'll work."
And I think that where Randy Orton is at his career, he is always in that position where he can at any moment be just shifted into the main event, right? He can just be boosted up or boosted down, but there has to be something in that mid-range for him, because there's no way that he becomes the opening act, and he's, there's no way that they're going to shift him very often into singles title pictures, because it doesn't make sense unless they're trying to actively elevate someone else. So I would foresee that this situation with RK Bro and AJ and Omos I wouldn't doubt this extending several months, with them maybe trading the belts back and forth, and even with ultimately Orton and Riddle falling apart just in time to go to WrestleMania.
The other side of the coin on this is if Orton and Riddle are losing at SummerSlam, we already saw Randy turn on Riddle. Riddle turning on Randy is the other outside the box idea here, and I don't hate that idea either. I think that would be very interesting. Randy would be a very compelling babyface in this situation, and Riddle got one out. Why would you think I forgot about you laying me out, right? You know, I tried to be your friend and you were a complete dick to me, and I lured you back in. I used your mind games, and now I'm going to lay you out. I don't hate it.
Again, I don't hate that either, but I legitimately think that money you were talking about coming in for those t-shirts, everybody's looking at that. WWE's like, this is going to look great when we report how many t-shirts we sold. You know, like we're going to have you calculate up how much money, accounting team, that we've made from these t-shirts, and then we're letting you all go.
Wow.
Wow. But I think that this is something that's just financially successful for them, and I don't think that they have anywhere for these guys to go right now. So I think this is where they are.
All right, last match here on the Raw side before you hear from Tommy Dreamer, and we're going to dive in the mailbag at the end, just like normal. Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. Now, Eva Marie has had issues with Bliss for weeks, mostly trying to allow Doudrop, her muscle, to deal with the problem. Doudrop instead was confronted by Bliss's doll, Lily, on multiple occasions, leading to a planned match between Bliss and Marie that likely won't result in much, CBS Sports, if any in-ring action. CBS Sports, that was their report. I've seen video of Eva. Like, I'd be interested to see if she tries to actually go and surprise some people. Wouldn't be shocked by that. But I just, I want to see Doudrop cost her this match. She just got crap kicked out of her on Monday Night Raw. I want to see Eva lose, Doudrop turn on her, on to the next thing. That's all I hope for out of this bout.
Remember when several months ago, you and I were, well, maybe it wasn't several months ago, just with how boring the WWE has been, it just feels like it may have been months. But when they talked about they're bringing Eva Marie back in to help enhance or develop other characters, other talent, I think in the case of Doudrop, that's actually what has happened.
It's worked. Yeah, 100%.
I think that they could have brought Piper or Doudrop or whomever in under different circumstances, and it could have taken off. And it started out really shaky, but at this point, I'm interested in Doudrop. I like Doudrop, and I think that it presented her in a different way that would give her some sympathy without it having to be played up to some, I don't know, lowest common denominator type of thing to get her sympathy.
Does Doudrop side with Alexa in the end? I mean, there's kind of been like teases with the winking and everything. Is Alexa trying to win over Doudrop, turn her against Eva? Do you think that's a path there or no?
Well, they did say or imply on Monday when she looked at the doll, when she had it in her hand, Alexa said to her, like, Lily, what did you do to her? Like, what, and the announce team said, I can only imagine what Doudrop just saw.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've seen the doll have that kind of like possessing type of power on Reginald and Shayna and Nia. So it's potential that the doll wants a new playmate.
Cox can help make your home smarter and your life easier. Now you can use your Contour voice remote to connect to your home live cameras so you can view them right on your TV screen using simple voice commands. That makes it easy to keep tabs on what's happening around your home right from your couch. Need to keep an eye on the kids when they're playing outside? Just say, "Show me my backyard camera" into your Cox voice remote and watch them while you're in the house. And if you're waiting for a delivery and want to make sure it's there on time, no problem. Just say, "Show me driveway camera" to check on it with your Home Life HD cameras on the TV screen while you go about your day. When you live in a home powered by Cox Internet, you can stay connected to what matters and let Cox take care of the rest. To learn more about all the benefits of your connected home, visit cox.com/thisishome today.
Woo!
We're here right now at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads, New York. It is ECPW Slamfest 21. Tommy Dreamer joining us, ECW legend, and of course WWE legend. Tommy, it's been a little while since we've seen you. Great to see you first and foremost. Tell us about this big event tonight here at the Chemung County Fairgrounds.
It's great to be seen, especially coming out of the whole pandemic, and we're here. And we got a nice packed house, and just driving in and seeing all these people coming out to the fair and supporting things that we all, I guess, took for granted for a long time. I'm just happy to still be around and doing it.
And I know, Tommy, your career's always evolved. One of the great stories that we were just chatting about a minute ago about with Beth Phoenix, being an Elmira native from local city right next to Horseheads. You signed her and gave her that first position. We saw the documentary on the network. Really excellent story there. Take us back to that moment.
Let me take my mask off. Beth she always had it. She always had that it factor, and she has proven me right since the first day that I remember seeing her, and she has blown me away with how great of a commentator she has become. And that's the mark of a true professional, a true Hall of Famer. Any task that has been given to her, she knocks it out of the park. She could basically take your job too. I'm just letting you know. She's really good as a commentator.
Yeah, she's no doubt great. And she always said, I remember her Hall of Fame speech said, you were always a champion for the little guy. You're given that respect and given that honor and an opportunity, which is amazing to see. Talk about what's going on now for you. Obviously, Impact Wrestling, moving forward, still doing some plenty of podcasting, radio things.
For me, man, listen, during the whole pandemic, the beauty about professional wrestling, the world literally stopped, but wrestling kept going, and it never stopped, and that's such greatness for professional wrestling. I don't think it gets enough credit. Working for Impact Wrestling, doing Busted Open on Sirius XM, and it's wrestling in 2020 has been insane with AEW and Impact Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and there's so many great opportunities have come out for a lot of men and women that weren't there for me when I started, but now that the world hopefully is opening up, but the wrestling business has definitely opened up because of the circumstance that we have, and we're seeing some of the best wrestling literally every night. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, it's certainly being someone who's well versed in the industry, been everywhere, literally, every big promotion, you name it. And ECW certainly. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about that real quickly tonight. Putting your stamp on that, on the business. Guys like you, RVD, Taz, so many. Looking back on that now, what are you most proud of those ECW days? Was it just making your mark?
I'm still proud that in 2021 I'm still relevant, and no matter where I go out, people chant for my body of work. And when they chant for ECW, it's me saying every bone that I broke, every drop of blood, every sweat that poured out of my body was worth it, because fans, ECW's gone 20 years, and they still love and remember it. When they post stuff on the WWE Network or YouTube and social media, people are like, hey, remember this? Just this week was 25 years ago, Taz suplexed me off a stage, and when I see that, my hair is a lot better than it currently is. I'm about 20 pounds lighter, and it was a great time in my life.
Yeah, and just two more quick things. We'll get you back to the show here, obviously. Awesome crowd out here tonight for a nice summer night. But a lot of talk right now about deathmatch wrestling. And Nick Gage, Jericho on AEW certainly brought down the house in many respects. Obviously, there's a niche for that. Obviously, there's a huge audience for that. Not much different, really, from your guys' style in ECW. Maybe amped a little bit differently.
There is definitely a genre and a fan base for deathmatch wrestling. I look back on some of the things that I've done. I'd be a hypocrite if I said I hate deathmatch wrestling or stuff, because the guys go out there and entertain in the way that they do, and people would make fun of me for stuff that I would do back in the day. I just hope that wrestlers are smarter. Back in the day, we didn't have blood tests. We didn't have a lot of stuff. Wrestlers need to do that when they're doing those type of matches, because there is an inherent risk to it, where I'm 50 years old now, and I wouldn't do the things I did. You learn when you're older, but if people are tested and they're willing to do that, it's awesome. My hat's off to them. I have nothing but respect for them.
Excellent, Tommy. Our last question here, Slamfest 21, right here in Smoke County Fairgrounds. I wanted to ask you about a lot of free agents out there, a lot of big signings going to every which promotion right now. Certainly the talk of CM Punk, Undertaker's being mentioned even now in certain respects. Who is that big signing in your eyes that's going to really change the culture of where they're going?
It reminds me of the Monday Night Wars. AEW has definitely brought excitement back into professional wrestling. If Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson and CM Punk show up in AEW, it's going to be like when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall showed up in WCW. They're going to be the outsiders, and it will. There's a shift been going, but it's must-see television. I like the fact that they're all on different nights because I don't have enough DVR space to watch both at the same time. But those two guys, if that happens, it'll be amazing for wrestling. And finally, we'll stop hearing the "We want CM Punk" chants.
They'll be done, right?
Yes.
So, well, Tommy Dreamer, thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Always
the
nice to see you.
Innovator of violence right here in Horseheads, New York. We're checking out.
All right, well, Paul, I want to thank you for looking at the Raw side of the SummerSlam equation. I'll be back tomorrow to run down the SmackDown side with Christy, and thank you to Tommy and Andy for that great interview there. Tomorrow on the show, I'll have part 2 of my conversation with Gary Wolf, and I'm sure you'll see something else that's just going to get the whole wrestling world talking. So to wrap up the show here today, over at Wink Daily, WINC Daily over on Twitter, I asked you guys the poll question, what Raw SummerSlam match you most looking forward to? Lashley Goldberg, the women's triple threat, McIntyre Mahal, or is it something else? And yeah, dude, 43% chose something else. And I would say the bulk of these,
Almost all of them.
RK Bro, right? Like there are a lot. I don't even have time to read all of these Twitter responses here. But there are a lot. Then second place, we got Lashley Goldberg 29.2, the women's triple threat 16.6, and McIntyre Mahal only 11.2. You know, we ran down the card after talking about it. Which match are you most excited about?
Of these matches, for the Raw side, you know, I think excited for. Probably, I am excited about the Lashley match. I love what they're doing with Bobby Lashley. I'm also very nervous about it. In terms of, no, I'm taking that back. The one that I think is most exciting or appealing overall is definitely Sheamus versus Damian Priest.
Yeah, especially if Priest, this is a big crowning moment for him. It'd be really good. After us talking, I'm kind of on the hook for McIntyre Mahal too. I think that could be a sleeper. McIntyre is way over right now. Like, I don't know that it translates all the time on TV, but being in that arena, 2 weeks ago for Raw, dude, that guy is over. And they haven't pushed him down our throats like a Cena or Reigns. I think people.
Well, they stopped doing it. Like, they've stopped. So that's.
Yes. So I think that may be the one that I'm on the hook for. Tim Mullins here. We got another write-in for Alexa Eva at 26.6, McIntyre Mahal, Mark Michelski, RK Bro, Styles Omas. Then we have, let's see, Odyssey Jones, SCN, LOL. This is like choosing between burgers, pizza, or tacos. They're all from the bottom of the dumpster. That was a very mean comment there from Isaiah.
And it got a lot of likes. That tweet got a lot of likes. It's bottom of the barrel burger taco stuff. You know what? One of the things I have to give a shout out. I don't know who it was, but like a melee broke out because somebody was like, talking about the SmackDown side of things, and somebody was like, "Can't you read? They said WWE Raw." But I love it. It's like, it's like when you end up having like that brawl outside of a lumberjack match. That's how I felt about it.
Here's the one that got a lot of likes too. Alex Sour Graps. It's either RK Bro versus AJ Omas for the double RKO, or Omas moment, or Priest versus Sheamus because we haven't seen it a trillion times and they'll probably beat the tar out of each other. For me, it's definitely not any of the options mentioned above. Woof. So I listed the top matches. It seems like the Raw undercard is like genuinely like what people are more interested in seeing on this show.
I mean, I think that it's a situation. Is Sheamus versus Priest an undercard? Is RK Bro the undercard?
I mean, they're certainly not top championship matches. They're not going to be in the final. I mean, maybe the tag match could be in the final four to kind of throw a tag match in to spice it up. But I don't see Priest and Sheamus.
No, I mean, when I think of like undercard, I think of those. I think of a fairly bygone era. I mean, we're looking at this show. It's like a kind of a super card. Almost every match is some kind of for a title or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So these guys, if we were still doing the traditional house show circuits, these matches would be the main event on one show while Bobby Lashley was defending his belt on another show. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
But I guess they are the undercard, and I guess we are more interested in them because I think in a lot of ways those undercard pairings make more sense, and they probably haven't been as like crammed down our throat, or we don't feel the machinations from backstage, from the office to make them a thing. They seem a little more organic.
All right. Well, hey, great show. Like I said, tomorrow I'm back. Christy Olson, Gary Wolf, part 2. Since this is coming out on Thursday, hey, guess what? In just a couple hours, or right now, I don't know, time is a flat circle, I'm going to be at this WWE tryout camp watching wrestlers try to fulfill their dreams. So we should have coverage on that this afternoon. Check the site, check our socials. Tomorrow, Brian Wool is going to be sitting in the WWE SummerSlam media junket line, talking to all the top WWE stars. We're going to have all those interviews up over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. We'll have coverage on the site. We're going to run the interviews next week as part of the daily. You might be asking, Nick, why are you going to be in Vegas on Thursday and then not sticking around to do this junket? Well, I have to fly back to be in the media scrum for AEW Rampage at the United Center on Friday night. Really was a Sophie's choice, and I don't use that. I don't use that term very often. But man, to choose between having to be in Vegas to talk to all of the top SummerSlam talent, or be in a media scrum for a talent that we're not even 100% positive will be there, I guess I'll roll the dice. But we had to get it all covered. So that'll be on Friday night, and then Saturday we'll have SummerSlam coverage on the site. I'll be out in Chicago Heights calling Warrior Wrestling on Saturday night too. Thunder Rosa versus Kylie Ray in the main event. And then Sunday will be TakeOver, and we'll have the live post show here on Wrestling Inc.'s YouTube channel and socials as well. So subscribe to the Wrestling Podcast, the daily. That's everything, Paul. Man, what a tornado of a 72 hours this is going to be, buddy.
Yep, I do not envy you. I do envy the fact that you're going to get to be around all of this tremendous live professional wrestling, which of course I love so much. I'm heading, everything for me is about August 28th through 30th in St. Louis for the NWA. I'm very, very excited about everything that's happening now on the road to Race to the Chase with National Wrestling Alliance, and of course being part of the Empower pay-per-view on the 28th. It's going to be incredible. And then I know that they do not have the high profile necessarily of a SummerSlam, but I'm really invested in some of the stories they're telling. So I'm very excited about it.
All right. Hey, yeah. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am at Nick_Houseman. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.
Streaming only on Peacock, a new original comedy.
Me in a punk band?
We Are Lady Parts.
A confused mix of hash anthems and sour girl power.
You puked all over the front row. Ew.
We Are Lady Parts. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.